right, everyone. Let's get started with our webinar and beginning our journey on Sanskrit. It's an honor, as always, to have you join us on this Saturday morning. And HUA has a lot of programs across all sorts of topics, but Sanskrit is one of these that is so foundational, so fundamental to everything else. And people like myself who are born in America, I have problems with the pronunciation even. And I'm looking forward to continuing on this journey, even if it is at this basic level of just learning the sounds and the script, but with our experts, with our Sanskrit professors, it is, sorry, I'm just having a little technical issue. So today, we're going to have one of our kind of newer Sanskrit professor join us, but we also have a stalwart, Mr. Chandrasekhar Raghu. He's been with us since the start of our Sanskrit programs. He's got an extensive IT career spanning 4 decades, but his Sanskrit credentials are deep. He was an informal student of Pujya Swamiji Dayananda Saraswati, and he's actually been teaching Sanskritam since 1991. He's the founder and chairman of the nonprofit organization Arsha Vidya Bharti. And his ancestors, specifically Polagan Sri Rama Sastri, have been great Sanskritam scholars and poets. And it's throughout his family. So he's going to take charge of this webinar and go through all of the different programs and classes and pathways that we have at HUA. But I'd also like to introduce Srimati Laxmi Sharma, who is, I don't know if this is the first quarter she's going to be teaching courses at HUA, but she's recently joined HUA as a faculty member for our Sanskrit studies. She's actually gotten a PhD in Sanskritam from Lal Bahadur Shastri Rashtriya Sanskrit Vidyapit in New Delhi in 2017. And she was a gold medalist in MA Sanskritam in 2015. She specializes in grammar in Sanskrit. That's Vyakara na Shastram. And we're going to get into all of this in a little bit. She lives in Michigan, and she actually writes articles, authors books, and continues to teach Sanskritam. So those are, I think, our 2 panelists right now. If Srinath Chakravarti ji joins us, we'll add him on. But let's begin our journey towards Sanskrit proficiency through this webinar, and Chandraji will introduce you and lay out the groundwork. So Chandraji, I'll hand it off to you. Thank you.
Okay, I hope you've allowed me to share. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Dhanyavadha. That was a very good introduction, Ankurji. Sarvebhyo namaha. Adya Shanivasaraha November Mase Ashtavimshatitama Dinanke Amerikiya Hindu Vishwavidyalaye Sanskrita Vishaye Kinchit Janimaha. All I said was Namaskar to everyone. Today is Saturday, November the 28th. Let's hear about the Sanskritam studies offer from the Hindu University of America. In our tradition, the Guru Shishya Parampara is very important. So I'm going to begin with an exclusive prayer between the teacher and the students. It's only a couple of lines. You probably know this already from elsewhere, but I will repeat that here. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryang Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is a quick presentation, maybe for about 45 minutes or an hour, to to show you what are the different aspects of Sanskrit studies programs, offered by the Hindu University of America, and also answer any questions you may have. We have already had a very successful three quarters. We started back in March or April beginning, I should say, this year, and we are about to close our third quarter by about 20th of December, and then we'll have a short break, and then we'll be starting our winter quarter in January. So that is the overall plan. So let's have a look at some aspects of this. I'm going to go through some slides. If you could hold on your questions until the end of the presentation, that would be great. But please do use the chat window if you need to ask a question. You already you're itching to ask questions, and the chat window is there. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to start with this. Let me just make some way here. Okay.
And
I
then
hope everybody can.
presentation mode.
Yeah. Is that making it better? Everybody can see my screen fully?
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So basically, the Hindu University of America offers, two streams of courses. The first course is a certificate program in Sanskrit Proficiency. And then the second level is a partnership with another university in Pune, India. And that's the master's level course. It also leads you to PhD level in Sanskritam. A lot of us, even though we are from Bharatam, we know we probably use about 30 to 40% of Sanskritam in our daily life. But unfortunately, we don't realize that, we are already, talking or using Sanskritam words, because Sanskritam is the mother of, all Indian languages and even some, international languages. She's the mother. So the program here is, is there, it's open for everybody, depending on where you are in this Sanskritam journey. It is open right from people, students who are at the high school level, all the way up to those who want to pursue a PhD in Sanskritam. So it depends on where you are in your life, where you are in the process, maturity level, and how much time you have, how much passion you have for Sanskritam. So the main program we offer is called the Certificate Program in Sanskrit Proficiency, CPSP for short, and it consists of 8 quarters, usually taken in a successive manner. But then, like a typical university here in America, you can also suspend and resume as you go through your own life, whatever priorities. So there are 8 quarters. They have to be taken one after the other, and there's also 4 other preparatory courses before you take these 8 courses. We'll go through that in a moment. But the key question here, this provides you these 8 quarters of courses. They basically have 3 hours of classroom session via Zoom every week, and then we expect at least twice that amount of time, which is about 6 to 7 hours per week of self-study. And it is going to provide you the foundation that is necessary in Sanskritam. You can call it Sanskrit or Sanskritam, whatever you're familiar with. Sanskritam is the actual language name. Sanskritam actually stands for Samyak plus Kritam, that which is very well done. The name of the language itself means that which is very well done. Okay, so it is basically preparing you towards the master level course if you are interested. At the end, I said 8 quarters, 8 courses. At the end of the 4th quarter, you are basically ready to take a proficiency test if you want to pursue the MA level course in Sanskrit, which is offered in partnership with MIT in Pune. So that is that. And then in the master level, we have some advanced level, different choices for electives. It is again a 2-year program. It's 16 courses. It can be up to 4 years. It can be up to 4 years, 2 to 4 years, depending on what are your choices, how much time you are willing to give it, and all that kind of stuff. So I would say the key question you should ask yourself: how much of time can I allocate to Sanskritam per week? If it is anywhere between 1 and 5 hours, a lot of you have your own, work life. You have a lot going on in your life. You may not be able to give more than 5 hours. If that is the status, if that is all you can give, up to 5 hours per week, then we have a you have a you know a 4 quarter program, 4 quarters. Each quarter is about 10 weeks, followed by the 11th week where we have a written examination for 2 hours. So that is for those who can afford only about 5 hours every week. But if we double this, suppose you have a lot more passion, you are a serious seeker, you have more time for this. Suppose you can give up to 10 hours, not more than that, 10 hours per week, including the 3 hours of classwork. 3 hours of classes, 1.5 hours each, so 2 sessions per week. And then you can give on top of that another 6 to 7 hours of self-study. Then you're aiming for another stream of courses. I'm going to cover these in a moment here. So, and then for those who are even further, you want to go to the MA level, you want to pursue PhD, all that is later. That would obviously mean more time allocation from you every week. All right. So here we have, these are the various topics that we have. Okay. Basically, it is 8 quarters, 1001 to 1004 is the first set of 4 quarters in the first year. We cover right from the course basically assumes that you have a little bit of Sanskritam background, in the sense that you're at least able to read the alphabet, you can pronounce the basic letters, things like that. If that is a problem, then we have an alternative solution, which is coming up later. But this assumes, some of you may know Hindi, some of you may know the Devanagari script, some of you may even be able to read some basic words in Sanskritam. Even if you don't know the meanings, that's all right. So that's the kind of level it is expecting. If you are totally new to Sanskritam, you just don't know anything at all, not no sounds, no letters, nothing, then there is a different stream to prepare you for that. Okay. So this one here takes you through all of this journey. We basically go through right from, we refresh your idea about the Sanskritam sounds, the script, basic alphabets, and then take you through a combination, alphabets, combination letters, and get you used to vocabulary, sentences, reading and writing on your own, correct your pronunciation errors, and improve your comprehension. I would say by the end of your fourth quarter, you would basically be aware of a lot of things like basic, vibhaktis, which are basically case endings. You're able to read short paragraphs. You're able to realize the three basic tenses in Sanskritam. And I would say your vocabulary level would probably go to about 2,000 words, 2,000 words in Sanskritam. That's the basic aim here. And by that time, you would be ready to take a proficiency test for MA, if that is your choice. If you want to really pursue the MA course, then at the end of the fourth quarter here, after you are through with some nouns, verbs, and basic grammar, you're basically ready for taking a proficiency test. But if you don't want to go for the MA course, but you just want to continue this stream, then you can go ahead for 4 more quarters where we take you through a little bit more about some stories, essays, poetry, different kinds of shastras in Sanskritam, some examples from yoga, Ayurveda, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharatam, Ramayanam. We take some selected verses from there, help you to, understand, help you to analyze each of those verses from a Sanskrit grammar perspective. And kind of, by the end of the eighth quarter, you would be full-fledged in terms of, reading a Sanskritam shloka, that you were never familiar with, you have never seen it before, but you are now able to, look at that verse, find out the basic meaning it is trying to convey, look at some of the basic grammar. All of that is possible by the end of the eighth quarter here. So that is our intention for the 2-year program, starting with SAN 1001 and finishing with SAN 2004. Okay, so here is another perspective on this. When you learn a language, there is basically 6 dimensions. 6 dimensions are there. I typically, provide an analogy to driving a car. You have four wheels to the car. You have the engine, you have the gearbox or transmission, and you also have the steering. Okay. So if you look at the four wheels of the car, that's what you see here. The first four, basically, pathanam and ucharanam. Pathanam and ucharanam means, pathanam means reading. Ucharanam means pronunciation. And then you should be able to write some Sanskritam in Devanagari script. That is your lekhanam. Then comes your Shravanam. Shravanam is your listening to some Sanskritam. In fact, in some respects, I would say that Shravanam is the first one. It is like how a little baby develops language skills. The baby does not need to know how to read or how to even pronounce. Initially, all it has, Bhagavan has enabled the ears right when the time when the baby is in the form of a fetus in the mom's womb. So ears are the first sense organs to develop for any human being. So Shravanam comes first, and then one day it starts repeating the words. It is the same approach that we take as against a traditional approach where you're asked to memorize by rote, several things without even understanding what you're trying to understand here, what you're trying to do here. How do you apply that knowledge? That's the traditional approach, which kind of puts off a few people. If you are very young, in a Veda Patashala environment, that is very ideal. Even now it works. But for those of us who are who come a little bit away from all these Veda Patashalas and all, we got our own things to our own careers to pursue. Then you may not be able to go that way. And this approach here is nothing new really. Sanskrit Bharati has done it globally. It has been very successful for at least 25, 30 years. They followed this approach that typically a baby follows in learning a new language. So Shravanam is part of that. Shravanam is basically listening to anything in Sanskritam. It could be All India Radio News, which is broadcast 2 times a day in Sanskritam, understanding what they're trying to say. It could be something else. It could be a shloka that you're all familiar with right from youth, right from your childhood, but you didn't quite understand what you're saying. You know how to recite it, but you don't know how to comprehend that. And then comes your spoken Sanskritam skills, by being able to strike some conversation with other people who also know some basic Sanskritam, being able to apply that in your daily life in various scenarios. That is your Sambhashanam. And then comes Vyakaranam. Vyakaranam is the engine of the whole thing. You don't need to know everything about the engine even to start with. We all drive cars. Not everybody knows what is underneath the hood. Okay, that takes a while for you to figure out and things like that. But anyway, so that is your Vyakaranam, without which nothing ever can really work. Sanskritam is full of grammar like any other language. In Sanskritam, the grammar is even more enhanced because it is a very, very structured language, and you would start to appreciate that as you go through this journey. And then, of course, the avagamanam is important. Whenever you're driving a car, initially you're focusing on what is inside the car. Where is the transmission? How do I change gear? How do I see what is my speed? How do I know the engine is not overheating? Do I have enough gas? All of that is basic question within the car. But avagamanam comes only when you look outside. What is there on the road? Am I able to drive safely? Okay, who else is on the road? Am I following some defensive driving? All of those things come together in the form of your avagamanam, including your steering wheel, everything. So those are the 6 dimensions to any language learning. And our focus definitely aligns with all these things to provide you that rich level of learning. Okay. So this one, I already kind of went through this. What we have picked up here is 8 quarters. And there's some beautiful books that Sanskrit Bharati has come up with. It's oriented towards children that are growing up here in America and other places. And basically 3 books: Mukulam, Kusumam, and Saurabham. These are the 3 books. And of course, we augment these basic books by some more material as appropriate to the class, as appropriate to the target audience, and all that. So here is a quick view for you. A lot of us understand things better if it is a visual, presentation. So what you see here on the left-hand side, okay, on the left-hand side here, you see your preparatory course, which is for those of you who can only give about 5 hours a week. And here the admission criteria is high school, which is 9th grade and above. Anybody from ninth grade and above can join this stream. Basically 0001, 2, 3, 4. This is only one class per week, 1.5 hours each week. And then the expectation is you would give at least twice that time, which is 3 hours per week towards homework and self-study. And then after 10th week and the 11th week, you go through an exam. So totally in a year, there's 40 weeks of study, 40 weeks of study, and then 4 exams to take. Each exam is about 2 hours online. So that is your leftmost stream here. But the crux of the thing, this is where we started back in April. This is where we started the yellow squares here. Okay, 1001, 2, 3, 4. When we started with this, we found that there were a few people who were joining who needed a lot more help with the actual Devanagari script and some pronunciation. And we also wanted it, initially it was only open for GED and above. This is basically people who have completed high school and above. And then we found there were other people also interested in to start even from the ninth grade. So we opened up this stream on the left-hand side only after that. But really speaking, this curriculum is currently in progress. We've already completed 1001, 1002, 1003 is just about to complete. And similarly on this side, 0001, 2, they're both in progress right now. And we are hoping to offer these in the next winter quarter. And then here, as I was telling you before, at the end of the fourth quarter, you have a choice here, to take the proficiency test, which makes you eligible for the MA level course. Or if you don't want to pursue the MA or PhD and all that advanced level of learning, you just want to continue with this course, then you have these other 4 quarters in the second year of study. This again continues from 1004. It carries on to 2001, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the overall structure. Okay, those who are eligible, who know a little bit of Sanskrit, they are fine to start here 1001. But understand that in this yellow stream, the basic expectation is 3 hours of class work, 3 hours of attending the class, and then at least 6 to 7 hours of self-study per week. So if you can give 10 hours per week, the yellow stream. If you can only give 5 hours per week, then the one in the left side, okay, the green stream. And then of course, after that, you become eligible whether you go for MA or to the rightmost set of courses. Okay, so these are the books we have selected for the 1001 to 2004 courses. These books are very, very well prepared. It's very colorful, very innovatively done. And we are here to help you go through each one of the lessons and also do the homework and provide you feedback, which is individual, personalized. And that way you get to address your errors and enrich your knowledge. So when it comes to winter 2021, which is starting in January, goes all the way up to middle of March. And that is, we are offering these courses here, 1001. This is the basic, the first level that you start with. It is on Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to 11:30 ET. Actually, it should say CT, actually. I don't know. That is okay. That is okay. Yeah, what we have here is okay. So these courses are offered 1001, 1002, and 1004. And it is up to you whether you want to enroll for all the 8 quarters or only the first 4. We obviously have preference for those people who want to enroll for all the 8 quarters. They will be given the first preference, and we are limited in terms of our seats. There's only 30 available. The current courses are quite full, and they actually were received very well by the student market out there. So only limited seats are available, 30, and preference is for those who sign up for all the 8 quarters, and second preference for the first 4 quarters. And in selected cases, we may even have a questionnaire or assessment before we make sure you are in the right class. Okay, so that's where that is. And if you have, if you are short of time, then I would suggest you consider the leftmost, green set of courses as per the flow chart. And how are these delivered? It's using the popular Zoom, and it is 1.5 hours per class. And there is class participation. It is not one way. It is not a monologue. It is very, very interactive, and you're encouraged to ask questions, and you're also asked to read passages. And so it's all interactive experience without any threat. It's a very constructive student environment. The effort is not to put you on the spot or anything like that. It is basically a constructive environment where everybody learns from each other. Okay. And in terms of the grading policy, there will be 100 marks in total, out of which about 50 marks will be for the quarter end exam in the 11th week that you will take for about 2 hours. The remaining 50 comes from some assignments. There will be at least 3 assignments that you work, homework assignments. And then part of it goes to the attendance, how participating you are in the class. And there's also a survey at the end of the course. So all that will get the remaining 50%. Then there are grades A, B, and C, A, B, C, and D, as you see here. And that's your profile. That's your grading policy here. In terms of actual content of these courses, this PowerPoint here that you see, being presented, it will be sent to you with all the details. Once you complete a survey for this webinar, they will be sending you a copy of this PowerPoint in a PDF format. So you have all the details with you, but just quickly go through the first quarter here. 1001 focuses on your pronunciation, simple words, phrases, and some building blocks for the language, and things like numbers, tenses, some action words, verbs, and other parts of speech like adjectives. So even though I say a few words here which are very grammatical, what you see in the course is the practical application of all these things. We don't introduce grammar straight away to you. We introduce to you how to get started in Sanskritam, and then quickly, you start to realize that these things are, oh, is that right? This is how I do it in the other language. And so you're starting to relate between languages, and you kind of grow from there. Okay. And then you have the 1002. This is the second quarter. Here, your vocabulary increases dramatically, and you are able to combine sentences to make some complex expressions. You're also able to read some passages, simple passages, and strike some conversations in real daily life scenarios. And then in the 1003, we start to introduce to you various kind of stories, Panchatantra stories, being able to figure out what these stories mean. We also give you a whole lot of shlokas, verses from different works, and we take you through that process. We introduce you to Ayurveda, we introduce you to Yoga Shastra, also selected verses from Ramayanam, Mahabharatam, Bhagavad Gita. All of those things are part of this course. In fact, this course is right now in progress. It's going to finish by the end of December. And then we have this one, 1004. This is going to be offered in winter. It is going to focus more on the grammatical aspects, but at the same time, it is also going to take you through some verses from Bhagavatam and a few other things. Okay. So that's your first course, first year of courses, 4 quarters. Then this is the second year for those who do not want to go to MA but continue with this journey. You have more analysis in terms of tenses. How do you figure out the genders? How do you figure out the poetry? How do you write something that is given in a poetic form into Sanskritam prose order and all that? And also, you will be able to write some conversations on your own. You can be a dialogue writer of a skit. There may be a group, group program within the course. Maybe a bunch of students come together, they describe a scenario in Sanskritam conversation and also act it out in an audio format. So all that is possible here. And then you have 2002, where we look at all the great poets and in Sanskritam, look at their biographies. And we start to introduce you to what is called the Sandhi. Sandhi is the union of syllables. and also the active voice and passive voice, how to use that. And we pick some very special poetry work from sages like Vyasa, Valmiki, and Kalidasa, and start to appreciate even further how rich this language is. It's like opening a treasure chest. As you get to know things, you find that there's more and more treasures are coming out of that treasure chest. But it's up to you to figure out, how to open that box and look your, way around it or inside it. Then we reach the 2003 version where you are able to, look at a higher level of sandhis, and you're able to do some letter writing in Sanskritam and understand certain proverbs that are used in Sanskritam literature. And there's also some beautiful idioms that are used in Sanskritam and also adapted in other languages too. So you get to know these kind of maxims and analogies. And this is the very last quarter in this course, CPSP, where we take even more immersive, in-depth study of what we call as the upasarga and pratyaya. Upasarga is a prefix. Prefixes, even though there's only about 22 of them in Sanskritam, they can actually complicate life a lot. I'm not saying it is complicated, but I'm saying they add a whole lot of treasure to the whole language. They enrich the language so much. So prefixes need some special immersive study. So they are called the upasargas. And then we have the a little bit more of sandhi, some maxims and proverbs, and you start writing some big essays by this time. You're ready to write on your own. There's also a beautiful magazine that comes out of Sanskrit Bharati in Bangalore. It is called Sanskrita Sandeshaha, Sambhashana Sandeshaha. And even in the first year of course, we pick up several articles and stories from that magazine, monthly magazine, and start to involve you as a student to comprehend these things and have some fun, because some of these stories are very humorous and some of them serious too. Like, for example, why did Bill Gates come to India? It's a topic when he was visiting there. There was a beautiful article about what is going on in his mind when he came to India and got actively involved in some of the social projects. So things like that. There's some serious essays too, and there's a lot of humor too. So it is a contemporary magazine, using all kinds of talent. I see, kids as young as 8 years old in India, writing articles in these magazines. So again, it's a wonderful resource for all of us. So this covers basically all the 8 quarters in the main course. Okay, and here's a brief introduction about myself. I've been teaching since about 1991. But it's a real privilege to teach at the Hindu University of America level. It has added a lot of value in my life, and I really cherish that. And here is Srinathji. He's also on this call today, uh, ready to answer any questions you may have. He's from the Dallas area. He has also been involved with Sanskrit Bharati for several years. We all know each other for at least a decade, maybe a couple, and we'll work together. And we put our hand up the moment HUA wanted to start the Sanskrit Studies program. We got involved, and a lot of curriculum and things have been put together by the two of us here. So Sinaji is also waiting to answer any questions. And then we have a recent addition, Dr. Laxmi Sharma. She's also here on this call. She joined us this current quarter. She's already teaching, one class, for about a day in a week. Every week she teaches for about half an hour to 1 hour. So she's here. She has a lot more skills than what these courses offer. In fact, she's a PhD and she can prepare you a lot better for the MA course. And so there is an advanced level of awakening, and that's why Lakshmi ji actually also works for the Sanskrit Bharati in the USA. She's teaching a few other courses too, and she was genuinely interested in helping us out with the Hindu University, and she's here on board now. She's also going to help us out more actively from the next quarter onwards. So in terms of the next step, this is what it is looking like. For each quarter, there's a $300 fee, which is the tuition fee. And then there is a $58 book, which is not every quarter. You only have three books, three major books there that I was showing you before. And each of those costs $50. And there's an $8 charge for shipping within the USA. If you're outside of USA, this is basically these courses are all available globally to an international audience. But the only problem is the books cannot be posted out to you if you're outside of the USA. It costs a lot more, and there are some customs hassles and all that. That's the reason I'm saying that. So basically, you're looking at the $300 per quarter, and if you pay for all the 88 quarters, it is 2,400. And this itself is already discounted. And if you compare it with any other university in America, this is a high quality learning. There is no compromise or deficiency here. It's at par or even better than many other university courses. It's offered to you at a very nominal charge, $300 per quarter and 2,400 for the whole course. And so the three books, if you want to buy it all together, that is 175. You can always approach one of these people here who are willing to take your calls and help you with questions. We can address some of your questions here in this class. There's also one other thing before we go into the Q&A. I was telling you about this one here. I was telling you about the preparatory course. There's 4 levels here. This is for people who have only about 5 hours per week for Sanskritam. So this is for people who just don't know anything at all in this world, apart from Sanskrit, the word Sanskrit for this language, which everybody seems to be talking about these days. Everybody thinks, everything is originating from Sanskrit. There's a lot more there that people haven't really understood. So there's a global wave that is currently in progress all over the world, pursuing Sanskritam studies, including some very, very remote corners of Earth, like New Zealand, and so like that. So this is for people who just don't know anything about it, to get the things order, but they can only give 5 hours a week. Here we go. This is your ninth grade and above. Anybody can take these courses. And here we are going to go through this set of books again from Sanskrita Bharati. It's wonderfully done. It is, even though the target audience is children, you would find that very quickly it gets to a stage where even adults do not know. Once you're past this Sarini book, the second book, you'll find that this is all, even though it has kids on the cover, it is all reasonably intermediate level Sanskritam actually. So that is your preparatory level courses. Um, so again, in this PowerPoint, I'm going through all the things that you have here, in the first 4 courses, 4 quarters of this preparatory level program. And that's basically to learn at your own pace, because there's only one class per week, 1.5 hours class. And you go through some basics in terms of the sounds, where they originate from, how do you say things like please come in, please sit down, namaste. What does namaste really mean? How do you offer somebody something to drink? Things like basic etiquette words, and some shlokas which are wise sayings in the sense, there are only two lines, and they capture a very profound message for you. As an example, I would like to say, there's one shloka here, only 2 lines. If only we adapt what this shloka says in our daily life, we will all be very healthy. So basically, Dhanvantari, who's one of our, considered as the father of all Indian medicine, he goes out one morning to pick some herbal medicine, and a bird sitting on a tree basically says 3 times, Koruk, Koruk, Koruk. Yes, Koruk is a word in Sanskritam, which when split, it becomes Kaha Aruk, who is without disease. So Dhanvantari thought this bird is very clever. It is talking in Sanskritam. In fact, it was Mahavishnu himself testing Dhanvantari there. That is the scenario there. Mahavishnu himself wanted to test how good Dhanvantari is in his profession. So Dhanvantari starts responding to this bird with the three answers. He says, Hita Bhug. Hita Bhug means one who eats nutritiously. Then Mita Bhug, one who eats moderately, not too much, not too little. And then thirdly, he says, Jitendriyaha, one who has got control over his sense organs. So he gives three answers. The bird, as though it understood all three, it again says Koruk, Koruk, Koruk. Now Dhanvantari is also very excited. Oh, this student is very good, very interesting. So he gives three more. Niyataha. Niyataha means one who is living a disciplined life. Niyataha. And then he says Shatapadagami, one who walks or climbs at least 100 steps a day. From a physical fitness perspective, that is very important. A lot of us don't do that these days. You need to have Fitbit and all kinds of things to measure how much you're walking every day. Especially COVID has created an environment where the physical activity has dropped down. So Shatapadagami, one who walks or climbs at least 100 steps. If you're younger, make it a 1,000 steps. And then lastly, he said, Vamashayi. Vamashayi means one who sleeps to the left side. After so many centuries, if you look at the medical, research and all, they now have a device which helps you to sleep to the left. Very, very useful because it makes sure, you don't get into acid reflux problems and other things like that. There's even a special device, which sells for some $200 a piece. They've already sold millions of dollars of worth of this equipment. So think about it, what was said here, we don't even know who wrote that verse. We don't even know when it was written. But what is said in those two lines, it's very valid even today. And if only we follow those six advices, so six small words, if we understand, comprehend that, put that into our real life, it's amazing how much of health benefit you could get. I'm just giving you a very small example, but there are thousands of that literally in Sanskritam for you to explore and understand. What you need to do is just like how the TV antenna is there, the antenna needs to be tuned to the right wavelength for it to capture all the pictures and the sounds. The same way, your antenna, Sanskritam antenna, has to go up. And that means you need a solid foundation in this language. Even if it is not up to the MA level and PhD level, that's fine. But you should have some basic understanding of these things to connect you back to your grassroots, the heritage that we all so proudly say we are from, and reinvent ourselves, change ourselves to adapt to this kind of lifestyle. So with that said, I won't go too much into that. Now back to this one. 0002 here is going to make you an expert in combined letters, Samyukta Aksharani. A lot of people think if they know Hindi, they think they know Sanskritam, which is unfortunately not true. The script kind of ends with the basic alphabets, the script commonality ends. Even at the combined level, Hindi does not have certain letters. Sanskritam has those. And of course, like any other language, Hindi also shares a lot of common words with Sanskritam, but we all know where they all originated from. So there you go. And then we slowly introduce you to some cases, like how to use something as an object, how to say certain things in space and time in terms of location, how to make some short phrases. Then we go into another level where we look at the different tenses and how do we say things that are belonging to us, how do we describe things that we use as instruments, things like that. And then the fourth quarter here prepares you into how to strike conversations. It also takes you through a set of Hitopadesha stories in Sanskritam. You are expected to read in the class environment, comprehend, and also start making some simple stories yourself. So that's what that is. We also take you through some exceptionally good songs, very melodious, very meaningful. So that's what that is. And what you see here is pretty much what I covered there, except that these 4 quarters, they all have only one class per week, 1.5 hours. And therefore, the number of credits is also half. Instead of 3, it is only 1.5. And again, these courses, have their own fee structure. You're welcome to register for all the 4 quarters, at a cost of $650. It's basically $150 for the course, tuition, work, and then about $20 for the books that we send to you. If you are in the US, that's $20. So $170 per quarter. And if you enroll for the entire course, all the 4 quarters, it's only $650. And again, people are available to answer your questions, either by email or phone, whatever works for you. Details are there in this PowerPoint. So now we reach the end of the presentation. I'm going to ask Ankurji here to open up the lines for any questions that people may have. Please do tell us what is your name before you ask your question.
Great. Thank you for that. And Srinathji was answering some of the questions that were coming up in the chat. If you have other questions, please put them in the Q&A box. It's kind of empty right now, or raise your hand as a panelist. Maybe we could have Laxmiji say something.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to do that. If you could, Laxmiji, if you could, I'll stop the share. If you could make sure your video is enabled. And if you could talk maybe for a couple of minutes about Sanskritam as well as Sanskritihi. 2 words here. Sanskritam is the name of the language, and Sanskritihi is our rich culture and heritage. So she's going to say a few words here in Sanskritam, and I'll see if I can help you in terms of English translation. Actually, you shouldn't need any translation. We all have Sanskritam in our DNA. You should be able to comprehend. But I will help you out here. So over to Laxmi ji. Namo namaha, Laxmi Mohodaye. Bhavati Aramam Karotu.
Namaste Sarvebhyah. ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलं स्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे मम पक्षतः सर्वेभ्यः हातान् नमस्कारान् समर्पयामि श्रेष्ठैः संस्कृतविषये किञ्चित् वक्तव्यम् इति मया अनुमतिः प्राप्ता परन्तु यथा दीपस्य कृते अन्यः प्रकाशकः नावश्यकः तथैव संस्कृतस्य कृते अपि संस्कृतं किम् इति बोधयितुं तस्य माहात्म्यस्य आवश्यकता नास्ति तथापि किञ्चित् संस्कृतविषये अहं वक्तुकामा अस्मि.
Once again, Mohoday, I'll just do a little bit of translation to help people out. Just like you don't have to talk about light the moment there is a lamp. Okay, like that, Sanskritam also doesn't need a whole lot of introduction, but still there may be people who may not understand what is this wonderful language about. So I'm going to say a few words about Sanskritam for benefiting you in this course. Dhanyavadah.
यथा एका उक्तिः अस्ति अनादिनिधना ह्येषा वागुत्सृष्टा स्वयंभुवा आदौ वेदमयी दिव्या यतः सर्वाः प्रवृत्तयः नाम एतत् संस्कृतम् अनादिनिधनम् अस्ति अस्य आदिः कदा अन्तश्च कदा भविष्यति इति न ज्ञायते अस्मिन् एव संस्कृते विश्वस्य प्रथमः ग्रन्थः वेदः उपनिबद्धः अस्ति तत्र एव सर्वं ज्ञानं च समाहितम् अस्ति तस्मादेव अस्य जगतः सर्वाः अपि प्रवृत्तयः भवन्ति अतः एतदेव वर्तते संस्कृतस्य मूलं माहात्म्यं येन idam jagat pravartate.
What you are saying there is we have a lot of things which are originating from Sanskritam, jnana and vijnana, specialized knowledge. Why should you look at Sanskritam is a key question. And the answer is that, you know, a lot of truth, a lot of research that has gone into various walks of life, whether it is mathematics, astrology, Vedic sciences, Jyotisha, you know, whatever that is, you know, it is all originated in Sanskritam. You know, Sanskritam as a language, nobody knows when it started. That's why it is called Anadi. And nobody knows where it ends either, because every time you think you've reached MA and you have reached a PhD, you find that there is a lot more that you don't know. You know, we think we know something because we have reached a level of MA or PhD. But what is revealed to you is that there is a whole lot more. This ocean is very deep and very large, and you come to that realization. Go ahead, Modi.
अतः समस्तस्य अपि ज्ञानस्य विज्ञानस्य च निधिः वर्तते संस्कृतं, तथापि अत्र यथा भौतिकं ज्ञानं तथैव आध्यात्मिकम् अपि विज्ञानम् अस्ति। अतः भौतिक आध्यात्मिक ज्ञानविज्ञानयोः मध्ये आध्यात्मिक ज्ञानस्य एव अत्र संस्कृते श्रेष्ठता वर्तते, यतः भौतिकं तु भाषान्तरेषु अपि भवन्तः ज्ञातुं पठितुम् अधिगन्तुं च शक्नुवन्ति।
So by going in for a course like this, you're getting exposed to a whole treasure of knowledge and sciences, the practical implementation of it, and that way you can enrich your life. Okay, go ahead.
अतः आध्यात्मिक ज्ञानस्य विषये एव श्रेष्ठतां कथयन्ती एका श्रुतिः वर्तते, सा विद्या या विमुक्तये, सा एव वस्तुतः विद्या भवति, ज्ञानं विज्ञानं वा भवति, यया विमुक्तिः भवेत् अस्मात् दुःखालयात्, अस्मात् जगतः इति उक्तिः एतत् चरितार्थयति। अतः आध्यात्मिकं ज्ञानम् अधिगन्तुं संस्कृतम् अस्माभिः पठनीयम्।
So she made a sukti there. Sa jnanam sa vimuktaye.
सा विद्या या विमुक्तये.
Ya vimuktaye. That is called vidya. That is called education or learning, which liberates you. That which liberates you is knowledge. So it is a human effort to look at how deep this ocean is, you know, with that approach, and you will find that in every day as we go through this revelation, as we enlighten our knowledge levels, you would find that it does liberate you. It changes you inside out. You suddenly become aware of, you know, a grand realization of why you are here on earth, why Bhagavan has sent you here. Suddenly that level of understanding comes together. Okay, Agre Gachadu.
इत्थं हि संस्कृतं यथा अध्यात्मविज्ञानेन सम्बद्धं तथैव अस्मिन् संस्कृते मातृदेवो भव पितृदेवो भव इत्यादि नीतिप्रदम् अपि ज्ञानम् अस्ति। सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु इत्यादि सभ्यताप्रदं ज्ञानम् अपि अत्र अस्ति। एवमेव योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः इत्यादि अनुशासनपरम् अपि ज्ञानम् अस्ति। किञ्च अश्वत्थः सर्ववृक्षाणाम् इत्यादि प्रकृतिपूजन परम अपि ज्ञानम् अत्र अस्ति। अतः संस्कृतं केवलं ज्ञानम् एव न अपितु संस्कृतेः आधारम् अपि अस्ति।
So Sanskritam is not only to pursue knowledge, it is also to understand the culture and the rich heritage that we all have. It is not, you know, it's not only helping you to become more philosophical by understanding the Gita and other things. It is also very practical in the sense that it is leading you to more and more depths of study in whichever field you want to pursue.
अन्तिमे अहम् एकेन श्लोकमाध्यमेन स्ववचः आशयम् उक्त्वा स्ववाणीं विरमामि। अयं श्लोकः अस्ति, संस्कृतेन सुखं शान्तिः, संस्कृतेन च संस्कृतिः, संस्कृतेऽध्यात्मिकं ज्ञानम् अतः पठन्तु संस्कृतम्.
I would like to conclude my little brief talk here with a saying, which basically says, there is no culture without Sanskritam. Sanskritam and Sanskriti, they're both intertwined, where we come from. It is very much part of our life. One cannot be separated from the other. So it is up to us to make that effort, make our lives more meaningful by pursuing both the culture and the language, and make ourselves better, not only for us, even for the next generation of kids and other younger people. They need to understand that our forefathers have done a great job by passing on this rich tradition to us. Now it's up to us to make sure we also qualify to that level and provide the necessary infrastructure for the future generations to exploit this great level of knowledge and culture. Thank you all.
एवम् उक्त्वा अहं HAU प्रति स्वस्य हार्दं ज्ञापनं व्याहरन्ति स्ववचः विरमामि.
So with that, I want to congratulate you for joining this webinar, and I will take rest from you. Okay, we are now back to Q&A. Ankurji, Srinathji, Lakshmiji, you can all answer. I'm also here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question that keeps on coming up, is based on other, and people ask this in different ways, and Srinathji has been answering them. It's people have studied here or they've studied there, they've read this much. What is our process as Hindu University of America to make sure they are placed in an appropriate level, or walk them through that and then let them know where they should be? You kind of mentioned this, but I think that's an important question that is brought up. So if you could address that. And I know Srinathji was answering them, but whoever wants to answer.
Yeah. Srinathji, you want to continue where you left off, or you want me to answer?
That's fine, Chandra, you can address. I'll just type in answers in the chat.
Yeah. So basically, the question is, how do I know where I am in this Sanskritam journey? Okay, that's the key. That seems to be the key question. Okay. So, to find that out, you first have to, can you stand on the banks of a swimming pool and then ascertain where you are with your swimming skills? You cannot do that. You have to, get into the water, see how hard it is for you to breathe, and how quickly you can get moving in the surface of the water without any damage, right? So how do we do that? We get started with either 1001 or 0001. But if you think you've already done, say, some people have gone through the NCERT, CBSE syllabus. I've studied Sanskritam for 4 years in my high school, so I know the basic alphabets and combination letters. Where do I stand? Okay. So what we do is, if you think you are at a certain level, talk to us. It doesn't have to be 0001 you have to start with. We can open up the forum for 1001 is our basic thing for adults, and where we find that even that is a little basic for you, we quickly upgrade you to the next level. But it depends on whether you are able to take a test, an online test for 0001 or 1001. You don't need to go through any test. It is open for you. You just say, what is your background, you pay the fee, and you get started. But for anything other than that, say, for example, you say, I really qualify for 1002 or 1003, then prove it to us, demonstrate it to us by taking an online test for about 2 hours, and the results are available to you immediately. And it is also a score that is valid for about a year time frame after you pass, before you can join any of the courses. So that is the way we would like to ascertain that you have the basic eligibility criteria for that course. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
And one other thing maybe coming off from that is, how do I compare this course with other courses available elsewhere? Okay. So Sanskrit Bharati himself, they themselves conduct a whole lot of courses, through some residential camps, and these days it is done over the web. And then there are other courses like the Sanskritam as a foreign language, in fact, which uses the same set of books that we have. Now, their curriculum using the 3 books that I was showing you, Mukulam, Kusumam, and Saurabham, is for a period of 3 years. What we have done is took the best out of that, compressed the whole thing into 2 years, added a lot more fun to the whole program, by making it a lot more interactive in our classes. And so that is, I would say that is, it's more like an enriched or sophisticated version of that whole course. At the level of MA and PhD, it takes a much higher profile because it is actually better than most of the international offerings that you've seen elsewhere. It is done in collaboration with MIT in Pune, and there's a whole lot of other details about that level. But at this basic level, how we distinguish is by customizing each quarter of course according to the audience that is enrolling, taking you from wherever you are to the end target of that course. That's what we specialize in. Wherever you are in your journey, we try to address that and take you to the goal of that particular quarter, preparing you for the next quarter.
Thank you, Chandraji. Yeah, wherever you are on this journey, HUA wants to help you move further along that. I'm going to launch a poll right now. If you can just answer what level or what you're particularly interested in, it'll help us capture that information and follow up specifically on that front. The cost question came up, and because this is a certificate program in the US, the Sanskrit program is fixed, but we are looking into different cost functions for other other Hindus across the world, depending on where you're at, because we understand that it might not translate appropriately, the cost. And so we're working on that. We don't have a good solution for that right now, but we are looking into that. Any other questions, Rohit Upadhyay ji asks, how does the MA course compare to similar courses from BHU, Rastriya, Samstam? So, I mean, you kind of answered that.
There will be an exclusive webinar which covers the MA and PhD level of Sanskritam offered by the HUA. This probably is not appropriate, but let me put it this way. It either compares very well with all of those or even goes further, because you have a lot more electives. It all depends on where you want to take your rocket.
Yeah. No, and as Chandraji said at the start, right, we have these 2 pathways, kind of the beginner and the MA PhD. So there's 2 different ways that you can go.
Yeah, we consider, our duty here is to prepare you for the MA level stream, MA level of courses. But where either you don't have the interest towards that or you don't have the time, even the 4 plus 4, 8 quarters of study will take you to, some practical side of Sanskritam, being able to figure out what Krishna said to Arjuna, in the Bhagavad Gita, what Vishwamitra said to, Rama. All of those things you will be able to figure out yourself. And that is the intention of this 8-quarter course. If you just want to have fun with Sanskritam, you want to learn the literature, you want to understand the verses, Ramayana and Mahabharata and whatever else in your life, this is the course for you. But if you are an even more serious seeker, yes, you should pursue MA and PhD.
Yeah, and as you get further on, there are obviously courses where we have reading. Arun Kulkarni ji just asked, are there any SK reading courses? And all of that is included at different levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to bring on Dr. Pillai, Dr. Asha Pillai, who is a student and just going to give a quick testimonial as a current student in, I don't know which course she is in, she'll tell us.
Yeah, she's on she's on 2 streams actually. She's a very good candidate for this. Go ahead, Dr. Asha.
Namaha Sarvebhya. No, I was just commenting in the writing. I'm not qualified to say anything about Sanskritam, but I'll say that the course here is on par, if not better. I think most of those things I wrote already with university Sanskritam courses. And the real thing I love about this course compared to Sanskrita Bharati, which is, again, no competition, they're equally valid ways of learning, is that the remote learning opportunities really let us do this on a schedule that works for, professionals and others who are working in other areas. And then also the lectures are recorded, which really lets us revise and look back on things. Then additionally, a lot more emphasis on being able to, the syllabus, as Chandraji rightly outlined, really looks at all the different aspects. So our pronunciation is emphasized, our writing is emphasized, our reading is emphasized, almost every class, actually every class. So I think by the end of 2 or 3 courses, we really feel a lot more confident in the ability to move forward in Sanskritam. So it's a real, it's a very well balanced set of courses that can be done remotely by professionals. That's my comments.
Thank you, Ashaji.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. This
Any
poll
other
is still
questions from the
open,
audience? Any other questions from the audience in the meantime?
and it looks like we're closing in. Yeah, I don't see any open questions. So HUA is not fully accredited. We are authorized to operate in the state of Florida, and we are in the process and working towards accreditation. It's a complicated thing. We can have a separate conversation on that. But we are working towards it, and knowledge does not need to be accredited, right? If you learn Sanskrit, you learn Sanskrit. But we are working towards the full accreditation process. I can share the poll. Only 29 out of the 53 people on filled it. There we go, 30. So if you see it, just fill it out. Once I close it, I can't open it up again. Yeah, I think we're closing in. Any last questions, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, I appreciate everyone being on. As Chandraji said, we're going to have a separate webinar on the MA, PhD opportunities for Sanskrit at HUA. This was specifically for folks who are beginning their journey and trying to figure out where they are on that journey for Sanskrit proficiency.
I think there is one question here from, I think, Pratham. And basically he says, I understood everything spoken in Sanskrit and had high school 4 years of Sanskrit. Should I take the test first? That would be fine. If you don't want to take a test, you can start at 1001, SAN 1001. But if you want to go for an even higher level, like 1002 or 1003, you do need to take the online test.
Great. Okay. So closing thoughts from
There's probably one more thing here, Mahendraji. What level can Sanskrit be learned up to? Wow, that's a very powerful question. There is no end to this learning. Even after some 30 years, with the teaching experience and all that, I still think there's a whole lot of areas where I need to study up. So there is no end to this thing. In fact, I would say one janma is not enough. It is something that you carry forward to our next birth and even next. So it's up to you where you want to take it to. The survey will be sent to you after the webinar is over. And once you respond to the survey, you will get the PowerPoint as a PDF.
Yes, yes. All right. Closing thoughts. Oh,
It looks like there is something called poll and there is something called survey. The poll is what Ankurji posted a few minutes back on the screen, but the survey is what is your overall take from this webinar, and if you have any questions, all that can be addressed to the survey that will come up after the webinar is over. And here is Ankurji sharing what came back from the polling results. Looks like a few people interested here. Some of you say maybe later, and some of you, I think about 70% of you, say that either you already have some Sanskrit knowledge, or you really want to pursue this seriously, which is a very good sign. Okay. Thank you, Ankurji. Anything else?
No. Thank you, Chandraji.
This is a good question. Actually, there's actually a very good question. We need to say that. I kind of touched upon it, but is the medium of teaching only in English? No, it is not. Actually, we start with English because initially you do need that background, but it is like having crutches in your hand, to help you walk. once you are able to walk freely, would you still like to have the crutches with you? Nobody would like that. The first day when you're able to walk freely, you want to throw away your crutches. Like that, initially we do give you the help in terms of English, comparing how you say certain things in English, or even for that matter, other, Indian languages. They help you along the way. But I would say from about 1003, course number 1003 onwards, it gets a little bit more of Sanskritam, at least half. And then in the second year of study, it'll be even more, maybe about 70% Sanskritam.
Great.
It will be using Devanagari script, yes. That's also a good question, because there are other scripts available for Sanskritam. Devanagari is the most contemporary in this area, so that's what we are following through the course.
Okay. Thank you everyone for attending. Let's have closing thoughts. Chandraji, maybe a sloka or however you were thinking about ending it.
I normally end with a Shanti prayer. Okay, so I can say this. Om Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. What that means is, may the rain-bearing clouds give us all that is necessary to sustain our crops. May the administrators, including the President of the USA, make some wise decisions and help us all with our lives. And then may there be no threat to the lives of scholarly people, as well as the cows out there. And finally, may the whole world live happily without COVID. Dhanyavadaha. Punarmilamaha.